Welcome to today's episode. In today's episode, today's guest is a true media powerhouse with decades of experience across TV, radio, print, podcasting, and digital media. Dr. Barrett Matthews is on a mission to help entrepreneurs and content creators become omnipresent. As the founder of MediaBros Pro and host of the MediaBros podcast, he teaches people how to be everywhere all at once and turn their visibility into real income. If you ever wondered how to expand your reach and get paid doing it, this episode is for you. Welcome to the show, Dr. Barrett Matthew.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Before we go into the topic of the episode, I always love for my audience to know who they are listening to. So the first question I have is, you've been in the media since 1980s. What was your first break?
My first break was actually, I have to say, an internship I did. I wasn't getting paid for it, but it was at a local news station in the Washington, D.C. area. And I got to meet someone who helped change my life, and that was a sportscaster, James Brown. If any of you know James Brown, he's a national sportscaster for CBS. He does football games. He used to do basketball games, but he was a local D.C. legend, and he was working at the news station there. And he kind of took me under his wing. He helped me with my college thesis. Then he helped me he put in a word for me when I got out of college to help me get my first job there as well as assistant director. So that was my first break, I'd have to say.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The next question I want to ask is, you've been on a lot of podcasts and you've shared a lot of things online, right? So the question I want to ask is, what's one thing about your journey that most people don't know about?
That I did a lot of internships and they were all unpaid. And that's how I learned a lot about what to do.
Yeah, okay. Before I proceed to asking the questions about the topic I introduced earlier on, what would you say is your media philosophy?
My media philosophy is that everybody consumes information from one form of media, and to assume that by you putting information out on only one form is assuming that everybody on that one form is your client, when your clients can be on whatever media makes them feel comfortable.
I want us to go into the topic proper, and you talk about being everywhere all at once and getting paid for it. Can you introduce us to the whole idea before we start talking about the techniques and tactics?
Sure. The bottom line is that, like I said earlier, everybody gets their information through one form of media, and a lot of us are taught to put our information out on a particular medium. Usually it's one that makes us feel comfortable. I call it ego-based marketing because it just suits our ego. So for instance, if you like social media and you only put your information on social media, then that's what you're going to do because it makes you comfortable. But that's assuming that everybody who you can serve is on social media. And we know that's not true.
Yeah.
People may say, I only want to put it on podcasting because I like podcasting. Well, everybody you serve doesn't listen to podcasts. So my philosophy is that you should have media on various platforms so you can be everywhere at the same time. When you do that, you can attract different people. Now, another thing that people love to do is they like to think that, if I put my media here, then I need to go where those people are. And I say, don't go where they are. Make it so they can find you. Because if you're looking for something, then you will go where that thing is. Well, if those people are looking for what you offer, they will go where you are. If you go to find them, and I know McDonald's doesn't come knocking on your door and say, Wisdom, we have a Big Mac for you. If you wanted a Big Mac, you can find a McDonald's.
Yeah, very, very, very easy to find.
Right. Make it so they can find you. That's what I say. And that's what we do with MediaBros Pro. We want to make it so you can be found by those people who are looking for whatever it is that you bring to the table.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I think it's coming out of a place of generosity to say, I help these people solve these problems, and so I'm going to make it easy for them to find me.
Exactly.
So I can solve their problems.
Yes, you're right. It's coming out of a place of generosity. Also, it's coming out of a place of just common sense. It's kind of like when you go into a store. When someone asks you, hey, can I help you with something? We always say, no, I'm just looking.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not ready for you to do that yet.
Yeah.
When I find what I want, I will come get you. If I need help, I will come get you.
I don't need that unnecessary pressure.
Right. They don't want the pressure, right? So
Yeah.
it's like if you're going to go to the people that you serve and say, "Hey, buy this, they're probably going to be turned off. But if
Nah,
you
I'm not
make it so
interested.
they want you, they can find you, it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. For most people, once they hear the word being everywhere all at once, the first thing that they immediately come up in their mind is burnout. So the question I'm asking is, how can we as creators start putting ourselves out there, being omnipresent without burning out?
Well, the thing is, the bottom line. With media, you can be in several different places at the same time. You can be on podcasts. You can have books. You can have live streams. You can have newspaper articles, magazine articles. You can have TV shows. They can all be on at the same time. And I'll give you an example. The comedian Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
Kevin
I know
Hart is
it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. And he did that on purpose. He's making sure that everyone can find him when they need him.
Yeah.
But he's not physically in all those places, but he's using media to do that. And I say, as a business owner, you should be doing the same thing. Now, if you're worried about having too much exposure, I always say, why don't you create that problem first? Right now, you don't have enough exposure.
Yeah.
Don't worry about having too much exposure because you don't have it yet. But I guarantee you this, if you do get too much exposure, by that time, you will have figured out how to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the problem, too much exposure, even while you're mentioning it, it doesn't even sound like a common word because it rarely occurs.
Right, exactly. It's like,
Usually when
and I've heard people say that, well, what if I get too many clients? I'm like, well, you don't have that problem yet.
Yeah, usually when it
It's
when
like,
it happens, it's like a good problem. It's one of those problems
it's a
that
great
even though you are
problem, right?
tensed, you are happy.
Right, exactly. You don't,
Yeah.
but I think people have anxiety about worrying about how they're going to handle it. But if it happens, you'll figure out how to handle it.
Yeah. The question I want to ask right now is, for someone who is already creating content, right?
Hmm.
Let me just give an example that's understandable. Let's say I'm a podcaster. I make podcast content. I post it on YouTube and I post it on the podcast platforms, basically, right? How could I
Hmm.
like incorporate using your philosophy, incorporate into my workflow such that I become I go I be I what's like the next step I could take to become a person that is everywhere, to become omnipresent? Yeah, that's the statement.
Sure. What you can do is create more channels that you can use. So for instance, a podcast. You could take your podcast and put a camera up while you're shooting your podcast. Put two cameras, as a matter of fact. You
Yeah.
could put a camera of you doing your podcast that you can put as a video podcast too. And
Yeah.
you can have another camera that just shows how you make your podcast. Now,
Mm,
why is that important? Because the making of the podcast could end up being a TV show that you could have on Roku or something, or it could end up being a documentary that you could make. Those are two
mm.
other separate forms of media. Now,
Wow.
the video in front of you, you could use that on YouTube. Once again, another form of media. The
Wow.
audio, as you know, is a form of media. And you can take that podcast and transcribe it and make it into a blog. You can make it into an ebook. If you have enough episodes, you could actually turn it into a book. So now you've got various forms of media that you've made after that podcast. Just off of doing one thing, you've created various forms of media from it.
Yeah. Yeah. So without necessarily creating another piece of content, you just making sure that every content you make, you squeeze every juice you could actually squeeze
Exactly,
from it.
exactly. And you're everywhere at that point. You're on all these different places, and you can also take that podcast, cut it into clips, and put it up on YouTube as YouTube Shorts, and put it on your other social media as Shorts, and now you've created more media for yourself.
Yeah. Like when you describe it like this, right?
Hmm.
You've talked about the importance of being omnipresent, right? But then
Hmm.
as you start outlining the steps, the process, we could do this, we could do this. For most of my listeners, what they'll start hearing is walk, 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 walk. So, so the question is, I know a lot of persons when they heard you say Kevin Hart, they would say, "Oh, well, Kevin Hart is a star. He has a lot of persons on his team, and a lot of people doing stuff. Me, I'm just a one-man team. How could I possibly do this kind of thing?"
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is to hire someone to do it. Now, you don't have to have the money to Kevin Hart to hire somebody to do it. You can go on, there are so many sites online where people are doing things for a very small amount of money. And doesn't have to cost you a lot. There are people who in this world who will work for $2 an hour if you just tell them what to do. Some of you have children right now who know more than you do about technology.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the children will be happy to do it. You can find people to do the work. You just have to be willing to go look for it and want to do it.
yeah, yeah. And then you'd have to recognize that you and be willing to like outsource the work, because if you're not willing to get someone to do the work, you it doesn't really matter. You're not going to see someone to do the work.
Right, right. And I always advise getting someone else to do it. I always, if it's something that you're not used to doing and you want to have it done, get someone who likes to do it and who is better at it instead of you trying to do it all yourself. You could be
Yeah,
using your time to do something more productive.
yeah. Yeah, I feel that earlier on at the beginning of the episode you talk about how your first big break came from you being an intern. There are a lot of persons who are actually looking for experience, and depending on the kind of business you do, they love to just work under you, and then of course a little compensation, but then get to like work and learn, and then work for free basically.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you could get children to work for free, but
Yeah,
everyone else, they're not going to work for free, but it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Thank you.
I think people put in their head that it's going to cost them a lot of money, but they don't even know. They haven't even checked, and it
Yeah,
doesn't even check. You don't even know how much it's going to cost you.
they just assume it will cost a lot of money without even verifying.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much. You shared you just gave the over level of view you just gave of how we could like integrate the process. I love that so much. Of course, we'll expatiate
Thank you.
on
I
that later
enjoy
on.
doing it.
The question I want to ask now is about the part that it's a delight to me, and that is monetizing the media presence, right?
Mhm.
So so many content creators, they're consistent. They're putting content out there. They're showing up, and they're actually creating valuable content in a certain way, but they're struggling
Mhm.
to make money from their work. Why is that so?
Well, I think people go into it without the right mindset. When creating media, when creating content, period, your main focus should be on first adding value and serving people. But a lot of people go into it with the idea of, well, I want to make money,
Oh,
and you need to go in first with why. Think about yourself, for instance. If someone is coming trying to sell something to you that you don't even need, you're not going to buy it. And you're not really interested in whatever they have to say after that point.
yeah.
So add value. And the best way to add value is to first understand what the people want. Now, if you notice, I didn't say understand what people need. I said understand what they want, because
Hmm.
people are only going to buy what they want. They're not going to buy all the time what they need. I tell people, and I'll use the McDonald's example again. Nobody needs McDonald's.
Yeah, that's
Nobody
true.
needs that
Yeah,
McDonald's burger and fries. They only
yeah,
buy McDonald's because they want McDonald's. Nobody
yeah.
needs nobody needs a Lamborghini. They only buy a Lamborghini because they want one. Nobody
Wow.
needs a 14 room mansion, but they only buy it because they want it. So it's the
Yeah,
same thing, with whatever you're offering to people. You think they need what I have, so I'm going to sell that to them. But you haven't shown them why they should want it.
yeah. In the
And
first
if you
place.
haven't shown them why they should want it, they're not going to buy it 100% of the time. They're not going to buy it because they don't want it. And
Yeah,
that's the main thing. You have to provide value, and you have to ask questions. You have to get to know people. Whatever it is that you're offering them, you need to ask them questions. And here's the other thing. Don't make every question, or don't make every content, broadcast, podcast, don't make it all about what you can do for them.
hmm,
How about giving content just because you want to educate people, just because it has value? Make them want to come to you because you are that source for them. So then when they want more from you, make it so they want more. When they want more from you, then they will pay you for it. But if you
yeah,
haven't made it so that they don't value you, then they're not going to come to you.
yeah, yeah. So when we start creating content, we should not just create content because we want to create content, but create content and keep asking ourselves, how can I help someone? How can I
Yes, how can I serve them? Right, right. Because I mean, you want to create people that follow you. You want to create people that want to hear from you often. You want to make it so that if you were able to meet these people in person, that they are anxious to meet you because you add so much value to them. If you're not adding value to them, they're going to find someone else who does. And you're going to be sitting there wondering, well, how come they don't buy my stuff, but they buy this person's stuff? It's because that other person is adding value to their life. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it's not going to happen overnight. And I think a lot of people, I think they look for overnight success. They want that. Put this out here and nobody's buying
Gets
it.
rich quick.
Well, yes. And look, and there's nothing wrong with getting rich quick if you have earned it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can get rich quick. There's nothing wrong with that. It sure beats getting rich slow, but it's just the thing is that you have to have added value to the people. If you don't add value, they're just not going to want to deal with you. And that's where people go wrong a lot of times. And they're frustrated because they're not making money. I know so many people who have started a podcast. They did 4 episodes and they quit. And they said, well, I wasn't making any money. And I'm like, what did you do to make money? Well, I did my podcast. Okay. Well, what did you do to make money? Because just doing a podcast.
So the account is supposed to be filled with money.
If that was the case, there'll be a lot of billionaires out there from doing podcasts.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. There's a reason why it's hard, right? And because it's hard, that's why a lot of persons don't do it.
Yeah, and I guess hard is relative. You know, it's not hard to me. Is what my ancestors had to go through.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast is not hard to me.
Yeah, in context, sometimes when I'm overtaking creating content, I just realize that look, there are people who are on the battlefield actually receiving bullets, and if they mess up, they just die, right? Mine is content I'm creating. Like, what could happen? What was the worst that could happen? I could say something I'm not supposed to say, and that's it. And I'm like, dude, just chill out.
Right. It's not really that hard. Is it challenging? Yeah, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
Is it something that, takes a lot of patience? Yes, it does. Is it something that requires you to reshift and maybe change some of the things you did at first? Yeah, it does. But hard, I think it's fun. I don't see it as hard.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the hardness is not. It has not to do with the task. Sometimes it's just a knowledge problem. You just don't know how to do it. It's not like it's hard. You just don't know how.
Right. That's a very and it's funny. I use that word when people talk about they did sales and nobody said yes to them, and I said, well, I say no is spelled KNOW. They just don't know enough yet.
Yeah.
And that same thing applies here. Like you said, there's a lot to learn. And we think that if we don't make money at a certain period of time, then we failed. I'm like, no, we didn't fail. We're just learning. We're learning what does not
work. I feel like, sometimes when it doesn't work and you say, well, this thing, it doesn't work. This thing is terrible. Everything is a scam. It's that way you shift the blame from yourself to the system, to the thing, the product or whatever. And that way you don't get to admit that, oh, well, I'm ignorant. I don't really know that much of how this thing works. That's why I didn't succeed. Oh, I don't really understand it. That's why I didn't succeed. Nobody wants to be look like a fool that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, and like I said, there's so many things to learn, and that we have to just take the time to understand that you have to learn. You have to learn, and learning does not happen overnight all the time. There's a lot of times learning can take a long time to get to where you want it to be.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And just to follow up on what you said earlier on, you said sometimes you might offer something of value and people won't buy from you and they go buy from someone else. And I feel like that's in regards to content. People buy from the people they know, they like, they trust, right? And content is more it's a gateway for us to get people to know us, to like us, and to trust us.
That's true. But also remember, that person may have added value that you didn't add.
Yeah.
And if you didn't show them, it's like, if, for instance, I'm going to use the same example again. McDonald's may have something that you like there. Burger King may have something that you like there. But if the McDonald's person didn't give you the value that you thought you were going to get at Burger King, you'll buy from Burger King. Now, that doesn't mean that McDonald's is bad. It just means that they didn't offer the value that you wanted. And that's the whole thing. It's not always know, like, and trust. It's just a matter of, did they have what I wanted? Did they make me want to come and deal with them? And if they don't, and the other thing is, I'm glad you brought this back up again, but don't take that personal because they went to someone else. Don't take it. It's not that it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that they hate you. Doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means that at that moment you didn't add value. Could you get that? Could you become their server later? Yeah, they may want to come to you later with something if you add value to them. But just focus on adding value to it. What is it that about what you're offering that makes people want what you have? Sometimes you have to take yourself out of the equation, meaning that you can't look at it with your own eyes, think, oh, my product or my service is so great, it's so wonderful. Look at it from the outsiders as a perfect stranger comes in. Why would they want what you have? Why do they want to spend their money on what you have? And if you have to think about it, then maybe you may need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe you need to change it a little bit.
I feel like, if someone is going to, let's say one of the products you sell is maybe $1,000, right? Let's just give an example. Right? There's something most content creators don't understand is that as much as you feel that the content you are creating or putting out there is free, people are paying for it with their time, right? And so if I spend 5 minutes on your content and it's like, you're just rambling and blabbing and all that, I'm like, oh, not really. But there's another creator that I spent 5 minutes and I'm like, my God, my mind just changed. Wow, how could I be this ignorant for a long time? I just start seeing things I didn't see before. I'm more likely to buy from that person because now I trust him based on the past that he has given me value. So I have something to base my trust on that. Okay, based on the past, he has given me value. I trust that he will provide value if I buy from him now.
That's a very good point. And just like that value can be used to leverage more business out of it, it can also be taken away if you do something bad for that. So make sure that you continue giving value. And it doesn't have to be something extravagant. It can just be knowledge. It can just be knowledge. You give them some knowledge that they didn't already have. That goes a long way with people. I know it does with me. I love learning things.
I think that every time we seek out to just put content, the question we should be asking is at the end of the day, what do I want my audience to take out of this? Do I want them to be inspired? Do I want them to be entertained? Do I want them to be educated? What do I want? Or do I just want to waste their time and have them cursing me for wasting their time?
But some people don't even know they're wasting their time because they're so busy showing off what they made and what they offer that they don't even realize it. But it's kind of like that person. We all know that person that has something and they love to talk about their product and talk about how well they did and how long it took them to make it, yet they haven't even found out if we even want it. So just as you have to be careful of doing that.
That's so true. Wow, that's such an enlightening conversation right there. So you talk about, the reason why many content creators struggle to make money from their content is because most of them, they don't have a value system. They don't create content of value and they don't create content with the user in mind or the audience in mind, right? To follow up on that is there are so many ways someone could be making money online, right? So many platforms, so many channels, and so many things, right? The question I want to ask is, what are some of the overlooked revenue streams, like more like the low-hanging fruits that that's out there to make money as in media?
Well, it's kind of funny. One of the things I tell people all the time is that when you're dealing with, say, a podcast, a lot of people are looking to get these national sponsors or these international sponsors for their podcast, and it takes a lot to do that. But it's amazing how many times we overlook talking to local businesses. Just talking to local businesses being your sponsors for your podcast. They would love to have the exposure. And you can charge them a lot less, and they're more than willing to pay it a lot of times just to do that. Talk to local businesses, and one of my mentors, Myron Golden, he actually did that when he wrote a book. He went to businesses that actually serve his clients. So, like, let's say if you wrote a book about money and you went to a local tax preparer, and you said, "Hey, I'm printing this many books, and I'm selling $1 per page, and you can. So if I'm doing 5,000 books, it's $5,000. You get a 1-page ad in all those books, and it can help pay you and pay for your publishing."
I like that. I think in a recent episode I did with I think Matthew Lesko, he talked about how he partnered with a lot of persons when he was creating content out there, right? And for some of the partnership, what he would do is he will tell them that, okay, if you people bring customers to me, you get so and so percentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
and then in a way it was a win-win for both of them, rather than, sometimes when we want to make money, we end up just asking ourselves that people should just give us money. We don't
Hmm.
think and ask ourselves, how can I, what valuable thing do I have that I can give someone that they will pay me for that?
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. We are usually so focused on what we want, and not focused on what they want.
Yeah, 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 so true. Yeah.
Mhm.
uh so you talked about sponsorship. Is there like another method or something else we could also do?
Say that one more time.
I say you talked about getting sponsorship from local businesses around us, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There are plenty of ways of affiliate programs. When you
Okay.
offer affiliate programs for people to make money by helping to sell your product.
Okay.
They can get a commission by doing it. If you
Yeah.
and you can do that for your guests, you can do that for your audience.
Yeah.
And then there are ways of course, this is the funniest thing. I get so many people that actually ask me, listen, so when I do my podcast, or when I do my live stream, when I do my TV, can I sell my own product? And I said, you better. You
Yeah.
better sell
Yeah.
your product.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's another. Always want to sell your stuff, but don't make it always about selling your stuff. Like I said, sometimes most of the time, you want to just add value, and then every now and then offer something to them.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like if you have your own product, that's like the highest form of revenue, because then what happens is that you get to keep the 100% of the profit, right? And
Hmm.
the other thing is that your audience already trusts you, right? So it's not like you are bringing someone and say, you guys should buy stuff from this other guy here. No, it's like, but this is me selling my stuff. You should buy it from me. And if they're already listening to you in some way or the other, they kind of like, trust you in a bit.
Yes,
So
exactly,
so the conversion is way better than when someone else is sponsoring on your show.
exactly. I agree, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you talked about sponsorships, you talk about affiliate programs. I was hoping to hear ads, but I don't know. Is it that there's anything wrong with ads?
No, I like ads. I run ads to get clients. I run ads to attract people to what I'm doing. Yeah, I like running ads. That's another great way to do it. And just make sure that when you're running an ad, you're consistent with it. Because if
Yeah,
you're running ads and you stop, then you start again. You got to build up that traction again. So yeah, if
yeah,
you want to run ads, you need to be consistent with it.
yeah. You talk about the media boss, and it's something that you keep saying, media boss. So for me, the question I want to ask is, what are the key elements that separates a media personality from a
Hmm.
true media boss?
Media boss owns their media and controls their media.
Wow.
And I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of times people say, well, Barrett, you're the media boss. I say, no, that's not about me. It's about you, because I want you to be a media boss. And I'll
Yeah.
give you the example of, years ago, we all remember Oprah Winfrey had a TV show where she talked a lot to people. She interviewed people all day long. She made a lot of money off of that show. But guess what else she did? She made a lot of people money because she didn't own it. When she
Yeah.
started owning the show, then she started becoming a media boss. When she owned the studio, she became a media
Mm.
boss. When she owned movie studios and started being executive producer on movies, put out her own Oprah magazine. Now she is a media boss. You take someone like Tyler Perry, another one, and he was a media boss. He owns his own media. When
Yeah.
you can control it, when you're the one, and see, a lot of people, especially business people, we're sitting there waiting for someone to call and say, hey, would you be on my podcast? Hey, do you want to be in my book? Hey, do you want to do this? We're waiting for them to call us. And I tell people, media is too accessible now for you to be waiting on someone.
Yeah.
You can create your own media now. And that's why I started Media Boss, because I wanted people to be able to control their own media. You don't have to depend on anyone else. You can do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the ease at which you could create. Like, you don't even have to have a TV station or anything. You could just start it from your,
Right.
like I mean, this conversation we're having right now. Like, I'm literally in my room, and it's what's the time now? It's 12 a.m. in the morning, and I'm
Yeah.
having a conversation, and I'm building media.
Yeah.
in some form or the other. Like back in the day, you had to go to a TV station, you have to like beg them or sometimes pay them, to interview you and blah blah blah.
I like that, but that's smart though. That's what I mean. The way to do it is control your own media, and then you're in control of you're the boss.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one way. So now I understand what to look for to know if I'm a media personality or a media boss. So as a content creator, if okay, wait, how does this apply to a content creator? Because the examples you gave, I understand them, but I'm trying to like say, okay, as a content creator, how does this apply to like to me? How does this like? Can you give me an example of how it applies to me as a solopreneur content creator?
Well, like for instance, you got your podcast. That
Yeah.
means you're owning that media. That's your media. So
Okay.
you don't have to wait on someone to call on you. You're
Okay.
doing it yourself. If you decided to write a book, that's your own media. You control it. If you
Yeah.
decided you wanted to do a blog or put your own, instead of waiting for someone to notice you, you decided I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah. 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 Well, I see media personality is probably someone who, people know. It's kind of like they're kind of like popular in the media, but they don't control or own the media. Why a
Right.
media boss is someone who they are kind of popular, but they own the media, the podcast, they own it, the blog, they own it, or the YouTube channel, they own it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
so I get that now. I understand.
That makes you the boss of your media.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. The question I want to ask is, you've talked about um how to be everywhere all at once, right?
Mhm.
But for most of us, we just okay, for most of my audience, we just starting out, and the question we want to ask is based on your philosophy of being everywhere all at once. What would you say should be the platform that we should focus on, such that it will allow us to be everywhere all at once when when we decide to say, okay, we want to get someone to do like the team and everything in 2025?
The first thing you're asking, like, where should they start?
Yeah, 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 yeah. The platforms the creators should start in 2025.
Podcasting
Podcasting.
is and here's why. One, podcasting can be audio and video. So
Wow.
that's one good thing that you can do. You can because see, here's the thing. People that listen to audio podcasts are not the same people who watch podcasts on video. People that
Yeah,
watch video podcasts, not the same people that listen to them. So you have
yeah,
two different audiences right there.
yeah,
Now, if you can transcribe it and make it into print as well. People who read print media are not the same ones who listen to audio or watch video, and vice versa. So
yeah.
you basically are creating more audiences there. Now, the reason I say start with podcasting is because, for instance, like Wisdom, how long have you been doing your podcast?
For it's almost 3 months now, around
Like
that
3 months,
time. Yeah,
and you're having fun with it, right?
yeah,
So it's easy for you to get up and talk about something that you like doing,
yeah,
and you just record these things. So if I said, Wisdom, I need you to write an article every week, you have to think about that. You have to really consider, okay, what am I going to write about? Oh, I messed up here. Let me change that. But when you're talking, you're just talking about something you love. A
yeah,
podcast is all you're doing. You're just talking about something that you love. And it's
yeah,
easier for you to do that than to do other forms of media. Now, can you take that and edit it? Yes, you can edit it and make it into, if you want to take the time to make it into something more polished. But the podcast doesn't have to be polished. It just has to be done.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I say start with a podcast.
When you started talking about this, I just remembered. I think a podcast episode I listened to of a lady that is like a what she does is she does content marketing for startup founders and CEOs and stuff like that. And she was sharing that she is the head of content and she doesn't have any employee in her team. And she was like sharing that she has different AI tools that she uses. She has ChatGPT and all these tools. And one
Yeah.
exciting thing she talked about was that the fact that all she needed to create content for these CEOs and these tech founders, right, was to every month she has a 1 hour interview with them, and then she takes that interview and then she transcribes the interview. She pulls that tweet, she pulls that LinkedIn post, she puts that article, and I was like, wow. So for those of my audience who might be saying, well, I can't afford to hire someone, well, I can't find anybody to hire. There are so many AI tools out there that I don't know how you might be using it in your is it your company is MediaBros Pro, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know if that might be something that you guys use in conjunction with what you do.
What AI, you're talking about AI?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely use AI tools in some of the things
Okay.
I do because I mean AI contributes a lot to media these days, so it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, like I mean the capabilities of AI, it's just so like it's so much like if, from my just for my own scenario now for my podcast after I finish recording I take those podcasts I take some I transcribe it, right? Once I transcribe it using the AI tools, of course I don't have that time to sit down and start listening to the audio to transcribe it word for word. It gives me the text. From the text I feed it into the AI ChatGPT Claude, and then it pulls out the best quotes that the guest made on the podcast. Those quotes are some of the things I would use as promotional materials, and those are things I would also use as tweets, and then I also mention them on Twitter. That's what they call X now, and then LinkedIn posts and the rest. And I'm just saying that like this time and this period is like the best time to be everywhere all at once. Like in the past, those things I mentioned, those are things that would involve like two or three persons to do for me.
Yeah, I mean you're right. It is a great time to be everywhere all at once because, like I said, media is so accessible now. It's just so accessible. We literally have media at our fingertips now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And thank you for AI and all that. Yeah. The thing you talked about making video, making podcast, starting with a podcast, a video, that's a video and audio
Mhm.
podcast, so it can be on YouTube and also be on
Mhm.
audio platforms, and then also get transcripts and blog posts and all those things from the podcast. There's one thing that most content creators really ask, and that is, should I be doing shorts form content like TikTok, like Reels, and all those other things?
Yeah, I mean, you have to make yourself known. And I look at it like this. Remember, I mentioned Kevin Hart earlier. Kevin Hart is
Yeah,
very wealthy, right?
yeah,
Kevin Hart's on Facebook. Kevin Hart's on Instagram. Kevin Hart does videos all the time. If he's doing it, then why wouldn't you?
yeah, yeah. That's true. Like he has the money already, so why
He
should he
has
even
the
be
money
doing
on
it?
him, but he's still
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Now you've given us so much value from some of the answers you've been giving to my questions. And recently I had a guest, and when he was talking about the topic of the episode, he said something that as much as he tells people what to do, he also tells people what not to do, right? And so just to piggyback on that, I would love to ask, what are the biggest mistakes you see content creators make when they try to be everywhere all at once?
They stop trying to be authentic. They spend
Mm,
all their time trying to copy other people. And when they do that, they really don't know who they are.
oh,
And it really hurts them because when someone needs their service, now they don't know what to do because they never were themselves to begin with.
yeah. So
You know,
they
we go
stop.
we go see a lot of coaches and speakers and we learn a lot from them and we get quotes from them and so forth and so on, but we still haven't developed who we are.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I feel sometimes this comes from a place like we feel like we don't have something insightful or good enough to share, like the coaches or the people we look up to.
Hmm.
So how could we? I know you'd encounter this. You work with a lot of content creators and a lot of CEOs and
Hmm.
persons of influence, right? How do you like how do you help people deal with this problem? Because a lot of persons they feel like they don't really have anything really good or valuable to share. Like they're not qualified, they're not good enough. Many of those things.
Well, I can't make them believe in themselves. I can encourage them to believe in themselves. And that's one of the things that I definitely do. I have for a long time been telling people to make sure that you're feeding yourself positive things like books, audio, video, the people you hang with. Make sure there are people around you who encourage you and tell you that you're good enough. Because if you don't believe that, I can't make you believe that you're good enough. I mean, because if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter if I believe in you.
Yeah,
And I mean, I can't help them to do that part. What I can do is if they're usually the people that come to me, they do have some level of confidence in themselves. And my job is just to help them to share it with more people.
yeah, yeah. I think with every content creator has to be their biggest fan before
Hmm.
anyone else. out there, which is very important. So what you're saying is, for most of the people you work with, they already believe in themselves, which of course is very important. But then
Mhm.
if I might believe in myself, but I might struggle finding, and I know this is a little bit off the topic,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But I might struggle with, I believe myself. I know I have something to share. I know I have stuff of value to share. It's just that I have this knowledge problem of how do I find the stories? How do I find the stuff that is authentically me and then share it, right? I know I have it, but it's finding it is just it's a bit of a hassle.
Well, how do you find what now?
How do I find my authentic stories and ideas to share with people to right?
I think the best thing to do on that is to sit down and just start writing out like who you are. Just write out, who you are, what you do, without not having to send it to anybody, not having to do it. Just write it out. Just write it out for yourself. And it may take a long time just getting it all out. And just write all that out about it, because it'll tell you, what it is about you that you like about yourself. And then when you read it, you'll find out some things that you don't like about yourself. Sit down and write it down. Don't speak it. Just write it. Just write it all out. Let it take as long as it takes.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that you said don't speak it, writing it out, it kind of forces us to like think deeply.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
that's what yeah. Say that one more time.
I said the fact that we're writing it out, it forces us to think rather than just speaking it out and all that.
Yes, exactly. And there's scientifically proven that there's a connection with the synapse between you writing and your brain that makes it connect more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very important. Yeah. That's so for people who they like for those of my audience who they feel like, okay, yeah, I want to start creating content, but I don't know what to start creating content about and all that. I think just quoting on what Dr. Barrett has talked about is to sit down, just give yourself some time and just write. In fact, no, just put every thought that comes into your mind, just pour it down on the page. And then, what you think you do, what you think you stand for, what you think you love, what you think you hate, and everything. Just write down, and that way you begin to see that, oh, so this is what I like, this is what I like, and creating content becomes easier because now you have kind of like a roadmap or a plan of of what you love to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So, because it'll let you know a little bit more about yourself, some things that you may need to learn about yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and that way because the thing, of course, quoting heroes and celebrities, all those things, it's good, but the thing is, if someone wants to listen to the celebrity, they'll go listen to the celebrity. There's a reason they're listening to you is to listen to you, and so you should bring your own insight and value, and you can't really do that if you don't really know what you think or what you stand or believe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You have to love listening to you.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of like what
yeah,
you said earlier. It's a
yeah.
matter of you have to be a fan.
Yeah, I think most of the time for some of us, it's a thing of courage to to put ourselves out there. But then oftentimes the things that we sometimes I'll just have these thoughts of okay, some thoughts, some lessons, some ideas, some insights, and then I'll just go to social media and I'll see someone say that thing that I was thinking in their own unique way, and I'm like, well, this was exactly the thoughts, the insights I had, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be amazed what happens when you talk to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Just before I just want to ask this question. There are so many platforms and there are so many medias, and you've talked about how it could be everywhere all at once. I feel like we're quoting the title of the movie.
Oh
I don't know if you know the movie by Michelle Yeoh, Everywhere All at Once. It's a sci-fi movie.
no, no, no.
Yeah, it's a Hollywood movie. I think yeah, the movie did pretty well in box office. Yeah. So
Hmm.
each time I mention the topic of this episode, it's as if I'm calling the name of the movie Everywhere All at Once. Okay. So the question I wanted to ask is, there are so many platforms out there. What would you say are some of the underrated media platforms right now?
Well, I mean, of course, we have, as far as like streaming TV, you have Roku is one of the platforms out
Wow.
there. You can have your own TV channel. YouTube is always, one that's most popular, and there's several different podcasting platforms. And usually that is the hosting side of your podcast. So you have to find whichever one suits you, as far as it. And even like streaming, like right now on Riverside, and there's so many other platforms that do similar or the same things that Riverside does. You have to find the one that suits you. I usually don't, recommend, different companies or products to people because it depends on whichever you like.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the concept, the idea that okay, you need to use a live streaming app to do this stuff, and that's what like matters. What the specifics, they can figure that out.
Yeah, take the time to learn those things, but they're
Yeah,
not difficult.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. I've asked you a lot of questions so far, and what I know that there might be some questions I might not be asking. So, is there anything you'd love to share with my audience that you feel like that I might not have asked, or that you feel like would be really valuable to them as regards the topic?
Well, one thing a lot of people ask me all the time is like, what do you say to that person who says that they don't want to get on camera, that they're nervous about getting on camera? And my answer is just get over yourself. Because you're the only one worried about that. Get over yourself. Get on camera is not what you think. It's not a big deal. No one else cares.
Yeah,
Just go ahead and do it, and just let the people see you. Don't worry about being too made up. Don't worry about being fake and phony. Be yourself. People like it when you're authentic. So just be yourself and get on camera and do it.
yeah, yeah. That's such a good question. Oh, wow. That's such a good. When you say that, I was like, wow, how come I never thought of that? Oh, thanks for sharing that. The concluding question I wanted to ask you. I just realized that we talked about it in the course of our discussion. It's more like what's one action step listeners can take today to expand their media presence?
Start a podcast.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I realized that.
And get out of your head. I know some of you are thinking right now, well, I'm going to need this. No, you don't. Whatever you think you need, you don't. So just get started. Do a podcast and get started. You're going to be bad before you get good. Just start it.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, so true. So, well, start a podcast, and preferably start a video podcast. That way it makes it easier to be on all platforms. And
exactly.
Yeah, and then I think when we talked about short form and the reels, if you start a video podcast, there are so many tools out there that could repurpose the long form video into vertical reels, and then you post on these other platforms without having to do extra work.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Like the opportunities out there to be omnipresent. I think it's a knowledge problem, basically. And that's what I would say. Not necessarily that it's that hard.
I think it's more of an anxiety problem. People get anxiety about what could happen, what might not happen, all this stuff, and just do it.
Yeah, and I think earlier I talked about that. At the end of the day, it's not a life or death something. Nobody's going to die if content doesn't work. You're just going to move on, and it's as if nothing happened. At the end of the day, you have a good story, and that's all. Like, it's not as big as we make it seem. It's not like, oh yeah, we need to advance into the enemy territory. If we take a wrong move now, a lot of our soldiers are going to die and stuff like that. None of those things are going to happen. None of those things will happen. It's just content.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just content. Yeah. Let's not laugh at that. You're right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Barrett, for coming on my podcast. I really, really, really appreciate that. Like, when I sent the message, when I saw your profile, I was like, wow, there's no harm in trying. Let me just message him. And when you replied, I was like, wow.
You're right.
Yeah. I was super excited. I was like, wow, that's good. Thank you so much. So, where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
One place is LinkedIn. They can go to LinkedIn and look me up. And also my website, MediaBrospro.com, www.MediaBrospro.com.
Okay. So on LinkedIn is Dr. Barrett Matthews, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I
appreciate you, man.
I know my audience got a ton of value from this episode, and it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode of Wisdom Journey. If you found this insightful, helpful, and you learned a lot from this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your respective podcast listening platform. It really helps other persons discover the show. And keep creating, keep learning, and most importantly, keep sharing your journey. You never know who needs your wisdom today. You see what I did there? Until next time, stay inspired and keep going.